I met Prince when I was 12.
Where did you meet Prince when you were 12?
In Dayton. After
Really?
he performed at UD Arena. Yeah, I mean, I knew him my whole life. He was like the guiding force for me. It's the reason that I had high self-esteem. A guy that was always 30 steps ahead of whatever the curve was. And, you know, when you play 26, 28 instruments, it means that you are able to be multifaceted.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well, the majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you.
Performer in April, Tidal was standing alone as the only streamer to have access to the icon's music. The Prince estate is now suing Jay-Z's Roc Nation for copyright infringement.
It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Katt Williams just dropped a major bombshell about the real reasons behind the death of his close friend, the legendary Prince. And it all allegedly ties back to Prince's long, bitter battle with his record label, Warner Brothers. But it gets even darker. Katt is now suggesting that this battle wasn't just about a label trying to control an artist. It's about something much more sinister. See, Prince wasn't just fighting for his own rights. He was also encouraging other artists to stand up to their labels and go independent. And get this, Prince allegedly warned other artists to stay away from those freak-off parties. And now that figures like Diddy and Jay-Z are being exposed for supposedly doing some sickening things at these parties, people are connecting the dots and saying that Prince being so outspoken against the power players in the industry is the real reason he was allegedly eliminated. And if you think about it, Prince's death was never fully explained. It seemed sudden and strange. And with everything Katt Williams is revealing now, it makes you wonder if there was more at play.
But it's about justice and fairness, and when people say that they love you and they respect you, but at the same time take, 80% of your earnings, then expect you to fix your own communities, and they'll probably edit all of this out, but then it gets, that's the sharp part of the sword, and we're at the wrong end of it right now. So eventually, with courageous people going out there and actually saying something and standing up for it, I think we'll get some balance.
All right, let's start with Prince and his battle with Warner Brothers, because this wasn't just about money or business deals. It was about who controlled his art, his identity, and the legacy he was trying to build. Prince first signed with Warner Brothers back in 1977 when he was just 18. At that point, he was this young, super talented artist with huge potential, and Warner saw that. So they gave him something pretty rare in the music industry: full artist control. But let's be honest, Warner wasn't doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They knew they had a star on their hands. And while they gave Prince creative control, they still owned everything he created. In the 80s, Prince shot to superstardom. With hits like Purple Rain, 1999, and When Doves Cry, he became one of the biggest names in music. But as his fame grew, so did Warner's control over him.
Like Mariah Carey just had this big $20 million. That's like a huge deal, right?
So you feeling that?
No, well, what I mean, I don't understand. What the public sees the word $20 million an album. Well,
let's see. Do you all think that's a good deal?
What, I mean, tell me why. I mean, what am I missing?
Okay, let's do some math.
Okay.
If
you do math like that?
Yeah, kinda. If you sign me,
Okay.
you sign me to a record company,
Right.
or a record deal. Let's suppose you have a record company.
Right.
How much would you give me? The album sells for $18, right? $18.
Whatever, yeah.
All right. How much of that would you give me?
Well, I don't know how it works.
Well, no.
Half?
Half? Half sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Check this out. If I sell 1 million copies, I'm gonna have $10 million, right? Roughly $10 million.
Right.
If I sell 2 million copies, I got $20 million.
Right.
If I just sell 3 million copies, I got $30 million. Now who has the biggest record deal?
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Okay.
Right?
Right.
So Mariah kind of got screwed.
And while Prince was making millions, Warner still owned his masters, which meant they controlled everything about how his music was used, sold, and shared. Every time one of his songs was sold, Warner took most of the money. That's when Prince started to realize that Warner wasn't interested in his artistic vision. They only cared about making money. To them, Prince was just another product to profit from. But Prince wasn't going to let that slide. He became frustrated with how much control the label had over his music, and soon the tension between him and Warner became public. And by the early 90s, the situation hit a breaking point. Prince was still under contract to release more albums for Warner, but he was fed up with how they were treating his music. Warner believed that releasing too much new music would oversaturate the market, so they started holding back Prince's albums, deciding when and how they would be released. This really frustrated Prince because not only was he incredibly creative, but he also knew Warner was doing it to keep control over him. So in 1993, Prince took things into his own hands and changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol. This was a huge middle finger to Warner and a way to break free from his contract. While Warner still owned his music under his real name, Prince Rogers Nelson, by calling himself the artist formerly known as Prince, he could start releasing new music without their control.
31st, 1999. My publishing contract with Warner Chappell expired, thus emancipating the name I was given before birth, Prince, from all long-term restrictive documents. I will now go back to using my name instead of the symbol I adopted as a means to free myself from all undesirable relationships. The price of CDs have skyrocketed while the quality of music has plummeted. And as long as middlemen create the means by which the consumer consumes, this will never change. The problem is not a complex one. And the solution is simple. Let the baker make the bread. I'm a musician. I make music.
And then in 1995, Prince started showing up in public with the word slave written on his face. This was his way of openly saying that he felt like a slave to Warner Brothers because they owned his music, his masters, and even his identity as Prince. Prince also started speaking out about the risks of giving up control of your art to big companies, calling the music industry a form of modern-day slavery.
I had searched deep within my heart and spirit, and I wanted to make a change and move to a new plateau in my life, and one of the ways in which I did that was to change my name. It sort of divorced me from the past and all the hang-ups that go along with it.
But naturally, the people in charge of the industry weren't happy with Prince speaking out. Warner tried to brush off his claims, acting like he was just an eccentric artist going through a weird phase. Warner also shut down the distribution of Prince's Paisley Park records, so Prince took matters into his own hands and started a new label, NPG Records. His goal with NPG was to have complete control over his music and release it whenever he wanted. But even with this newfound freedom, Prince didn't stop calling out the big record labels, and he went as far as to publicly say that labels shouldn't even exist.
Right? Because ultimately it keeps us apart, and it keeps the people in power in charge of us. So ultimately we're going to have to learn how to be together and become one people. What I've been doing recently is studying the scriptures as deep as I can, so that that's what gives me the optimism. And I would advise anybody, if you want to feel like there's some hope in this joint, I mean, pick up the book and read it and get somebody to actually show you what's going on in it, because it's a real thing. You don't hear a lot of young people talking about things like I talk about because they really haven't lived. They haven't gone through a lot of experiences yet, and we can't really expect them to. It's just not all a party, you know, alcoholism and promiscuity. Get some elders up in here and let's talk about all this. And distribution service, I mean, what do we really need record companies for? I mean, really.
But Prince wasn't just standing up for himself, he was also encouraging other artists to stay independent instead of getting stuck in contracts with just one label.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you.
During this period, Prince moved between different labels, but eventually he realized they were all pretty much the same, and he became so disgusted with the industry that he said he regretted ever getting involved in it. He told the LA Times in an interview, "If I knew the things I know now before, I wouldn't be in the music industry." But the battle over Prince's masters wasn't finished. Warner still owned everything Prince recorded while under their contract, and they were making millions off of it. There's even a theory that Warner wanted to hold on to Prince's catalog for as long as possible, not just because it was worth a lot, but because his independence posed a threat to the whole system. Because if Prince demonstrated that an artist could succeed without the traditional label setup, he could inspire others to do the same and maybe even challenge the industry's control over artists.
Slave is not anymore on your cheek here, that you feel fresh, new, more funky, more inspired?
Yes, sir, very
How
much.
come?
Well, once you free yourself from all contractual binds, you make music differently in the studio. You're not thinking about working for someone, thinking about just creating for God.
Yeah, that's important.
That's very.
Now fast forward to 2007, and Prince made another big move to take control of his music in the digital world. He announced plans to sue YouTube, eBay, and the Pirate Bay for using his music without his permission, and this was another huge challenge to the entire industry. At the same time, Prince took his music off every streaming platform except for Jay-Z's Tidal. See, at first Prince thought Jay-Z genuinely cared about art and helping independent artists, but like so many before him, Prince soon realized that Jay was focused on one thing and one thing only, lining his own pockets. Prince thought Tidal was a good fit because they promised to give artists more control and a bigger share of the profits. But it soon turned out that Jay-Z didn't just want Prince's support, he wanted full ownership of Prince's music catalog for Tidal, which Prince immediately shot down. But after Prince tragically passed away in 2016, things got even messier. Prince's estate accused Roc Nation of trying to profit off his death by using his music without permission. Roc Nation claimed they had the rights, but Prince's team wasn't having it, and they filed a lawsuit against Jay-Z. According to the lawsuit, Prince had agreed to let Tidal stream his album Hit and Run for a limited time, but after his death, Tidal continued to stream his entire catalog, even though Prince had only given permission for one album to be available and just for 90 days. But Jay-Z didn't back down. He even started bragging publicly about having control over Prince's masters, even though Prince never left them to Tidal. And get this, just 1 month after Prince's death, Jay dropped a verse on Fat Joe and Remy Ma's All the Way Up remix where he rapped, "Prince left his masters where they safe and sound. We never gonna let the elevator take him down." Now here's where it gets even sketchier. Prince passed away almost exactly 2 years after he finally regained control of his masters from Warner Music. On April 18th, 2014, it was announced that Prince had officially taken back ownership of his legendary music catalog. Then nearly 2 years to the day later, on April 21st, 2016, Prince was found dead in an elevator at his Paisley Park home. Now, Prince's death was officially ruled an accidental OD, and according to the police, Prince thought he was taking Vicodin for pain, but the pills turned out to be fake and laced with deadly fentanyl. But with so many strange details surrounding his death, it didn't take long for his fans to question if it was really an accident or if someone gave him those laced pills on purpose. Even some people in the industry like Kanye West didn't buy the official story. Kanye openly suggested that both Michael Jackson and Prince were taken out, and he even hinted that he almost ended up the same way. Kanye posted a photo of Prince with the word slave written on his face, along with the caption, "Let's get it, big bro. You and Michael passed so we can live." And this is exactly why so many fans believe Prince's death wasn't just some random accident. And it's not just the fans talking. There are rumors swirling that Katt Williams is gearing up for another jaw-dropping interview. A year after his bombshell appearance on Club Shay Shay, Katt is allegedly planning to drop some serious receipts, proving Prince was taken out by powerful industry insiders in a new sit-down with Shannon Sharpe. In fact, Shannon himself recently teased that the interview might be in the works.
You might hear the haymakers very, very soon.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I can tell you this, he's been writing more material.
But what's your take on this theory that Prince's death wasn't an accident? Do you believe the industry higher-ups could have had a hand in his passing to stop him from making radical changes in the industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't miss out on this next video.